Hey guys, I hope you're doing very well today. My name is Mason, and welcome back to Mason Zero ASMR. Today, I'm going to be reading from the official Homeworld Historical and Technical Briefing book. You may know of Homeworld from the recent release of Homeworld Remastered. However, the game originally was much older than that, released in 1999, I believe. And along with it, came plenty of other things, such as this book. I don't really remember how I got it. I'm sure it was a gift from my parents at some point. But I've had it for so long, I don't know. I played Homeworld probably first in like 2004 or 2005. And I really liked it, and I'm sure that I got this book somewhere along the way in there. So I'm going to be reading a bit of it for you today. I hope you enjoy. Part 1, Historical and Technical Briefing. Question of Origins. The debate over our past on this world reaches back through the entire documented history of civilization, a period covering over 1,300 years. The harsh conditions across this world, Kharak, fueled the myths of other places and times, where we did not have to spend so much of our strength on simple survival. While the issue of our distant past was primarily a religious matter, it wasn't until the dawning of the time of reason that advances in the biological and chemical sciences revealed a disturbing lack of commonality between our biochemical makeup and that of most Kharak life. Ironically, it was the birth of the Diamond movement, with its many scientific breakthroughs, that created a philosophical environment where the oldest myths and the newest theories could be wedded into what we now have accepted as the xenogenesis theory. Except for a small variety of bacteria and a single species of small forager, our helix proteins are completely different from all other forms of life on Kharak. We are left with no other choice but to seriously consider the theory that we are aliens to this world. Of course, this answer only leads to more questions. And we had several footnotes here. First one, A1, on Kharak. Kharak is an old planet, 6.7 billion years, that is nearing the end of its geological activity. Most major terrain features have been weathered down, and vast deserts cover most of the world, except for the polar regions. These are shielded from the encroaching sands by the 3 northern seas and the Great Magellan Ocean in the south. Temperatures along the equator can approach the boiling point of water, and the only life forms larger than microbes survive by burrowing deep under the sands and along subsurface water channels, or by hibernating during the hottest months. The polar regions are almost optimal for our people, but the limited arable land and scarce resources have prevented our population from growing beyond 300 million. The next point about the issue of our distant past being a primarily religious matter. We have the Heresy Wars, circa 520. Early history on Kharak is marked by conflicts between various clans, based on territorial considerations and religious dogma. This came to a head in 520, when the 2 largest clans in the north, the Sedum and the Chalcian, went to war over the issue of what had caused the gods to place us on such a world. The Sedum believed we once were a great race, living in paradise, but had been punished by the gods for our hubris, and cast down to this world. The Chalcian believed this idea to be heretical arrogance, in light of their belief that we had been created to suffer from the beginning, and Kharak was all we could hope for. The conflict eventually spread to the southern zone as well. Even more obscure points of theology provided the rationalization for a series of wars, large and small, that lasted almost 300 years and created clan feuds that would not be put to rest until the discovery of the Guidestone. Point A3. About the dawning of the time of reason. We have Tor, circa 810. The heresy wars left our people on the brink of extinction, with precious resources and infrastructure destroyed during 3 centuries of religious conflict. In 810, with all factions exhausted and falling from internal anarchy, a small clan from the settlement at Tyr emerged from hiding. This obscure northern clan was the first to develop chemical explosives and was thus unmatched in clan warfare. It also preached a worldview based on science and logic, and offered protection to anyone who wished to live in such a world. A few decisive battles showed that none of the theological clans could hope to defeat the noble, and within 20 years, Tyr was the new capital, and the time of reason had begun. The xenogenesis question and early spaceflight missions. It was becoming more obvious that we, as a species, were relatively new to Kharak. However, this theory alone did not bring peace to our world. The mechanism used and reason for our arrival was still being hotly debated, and was even cause for a theological revival on the eve of our first orbital flights. I'll go ahead and read this point right now. A4. Mission Silumine Riots, circa 1024. Space exploration was not greeted favorably by the entire population. Large factions from some of the poorer clans believed technology and industrial output was being wasted on this effort. They thought it would be put to better use, trying to alter Kharak, or at least discover ways to support more people and hold back the encroaching deserts. As final preparations for the first orbital flight were being made, an obscure theologian named Per Duan provided the unifying force for these factions by resurrecting the old myth that tragedy would befall our people should we offend the gods with another act of arrogance. This religious revival spread throughout both polar territories, and it culminated with an attempt by a frenzied mob to tear down the Silumine launch vehicle on the eve of its liftoff. The disaster was averted only by the wisdom of the high technocrats who stood on the launch base defense turrets, preventing them from firing on the crowd, and preached reason to the crowd for the entire 14 hours required for launch. Per Duan slipped through the cordon and prayed for salvation beneath the rocket's main engines until they ignited, vaporizing him. He died a martyr for the cause. Back to our main points here. The age of orbital exploration revealed the first clues that we were not indigenous to Kharak. Once we had progressed to piloted flights, reports of unusual pieces of metallic debris in high orbit soon led to dedicated retrieval missions with surprising results. While nothing larger than a handspan could be found, samples were brought down from orbit and soft landed in the high desert. Initial analysis made it obvious these were pieces of advanced manufacturing and machine structures. Detailed atomic analysis revealed trace elements and isotopes, combinations unknown on Kharak, or, as it was eventually discovered, anywhere else in the stellar system. This was yet another piece of the puzzle of our origins, but it did not truly confirm anything except that some kind of alien device or ship had once orbited our world. Though not decisive, the discovery of this tiny debris belt spurred great leaps in metallurgy and manufacturing simply by showing that exotic, high-tensile composite materials could exist. This in turn led to advances in propulsion, first with limited fissioning of unstable heavy elements, and then with more viable hydrogen fusion power plants, as effective shielding systems became lighter and smaller. The combination of these technologies spurred our fledgling space program even further, and our first steps became leaps. We were poised on the threshold of space, looking outward for answers, when a twist of fate turned our eyes back to the surface of our adopted world. The discovery of Khartoba. In 1106, a powerful radar satellite was launched in the hopes of detecting larger debris belts elsewhere in our star system. A malfunction in its maneuvering jets caused the satellite to turn toward Kharak and scan the surface. Lake Abderraki, a technician on the project, noticed a strong return where there should have been none. A quick analysis showed the powerful radar had penetrated the equatorial desert sand to a depth of 75 meters, and there was strong evidence of an ancient city centered around a large metallic structure. By 1110, enough science ministers had been convinced by repeated radar scans to allocate resources to an expedition into the Great Desert. Despite encountering conditions that would daunt personnel in modern enviro suits, these first brave excavators managed to uncover what came to be known as the first city, Qartoba. We have footnote A5, Qartoba analysis. Qartoba appears to be the first city built by our ancestors after surviving planetfall on Kharak. Analysis of the ancient infrastructure seems to indicate this ancient vessel suffered irreparable damage and was unable to move its crew to a more temperate polar climate. Thus, the city spreads radially around the wreck, and much of it is underground, where we believe our ancestors went seeking relief from the high desert temperatures and regular sandstorms. Many of the structures closest to the hull are made up of patch sections of hull plate. As the city grew outward, more rudimentary structures were carved from the local sandstone by hand. The massive fusion core had been moved from the ship to the underground chamber, where it was found in order to feed power to the original city, which probably fell soon after the ship's plant failed for the last time. Back to the main paragraph. While this discovery was the stuff of archaeologists' dreams, even greater secrets revealed themselves when the central metallic structure was discovered to be the skeletal chassis of an advanced vessel. Though virtually nothing of relative substance remained, except a vast array of structural beams, the real treasure lay in a shielded chamber deep below the surface. While tracing the ancient maze of power cables during the first triad of 1112, engineers opened a shielded container containing the remains of the ancient ship's power plant. Painstakingly transported to the modern polar capital of Tyr, this ancient device was back-engineered to provide another generation of breakthroughs in power and material sciences. But what catapulted our technology 500 years forward was the analysis of a module attached to the power plant. The device was nothing less than a solid-state hyperspace induction module. In a decade of analysis, we were ready to take our first steps into the galaxy, but it was not until 1135 that it was revealed just how far we had to go. The discovery of the power plant and hyperspace module was considered the gem of ancient Qartoba, and with them safely in research labs in the temperate poles, the old city was left in the hands of a few dedicated archaeologists. They struggled to do their work under some of the harshest conditions on Kharak. Led by a young woman named Mevath Sagald, they gave our entire civilization an answer and a goal as she pieced together the location of the mythical observatory temple of Qartoba. Accidents left her to excavate the site nearly single-handedly, but when she opened the inner chamber, she recognized immediately the full import of what she found etched on a single piece of black stone. I'll read this one last section. The Guidestone. Archaeologist Sagald had found something that was as unremarkable to the casual eye as it was monumental to the future of our people. When she'd studied this stone further, she discovered it once had been an ornately carved artifact that was nearly destroyed by intense heat. Whatever message it originally was intended to convey had long since been erased. Some distant ancestor had cast it through time as a message for generations to come. Etched into the upper surface is a simple diagram of our galaxy, in a single gouged line leading from a point on the rim to one deep in the galactic center. Adjacent to a spot easily identifiable with Kharak's actual position is a single string of numbers that give a three-dimensional vector, and at the other end of the line is a single word, ancient but common to all clan dialects. Higara. Home. The effect this simple artifact, now known as the Guidestone, had on our culture was unprecedented. Our materials scientists confirm the age of the artifact at approximately 3,000 years, and are confident they can match the Guidestone to its system of origin should we come across it. After a long history of struggle, strife, and interclan warfare, the confirmation that Kharak was never our true home has inspired an era of cooperation like none ever known. And we have footnote A6. Global plebiscite of 1155. Had archaeologist Sakald brought the Guidestone back to her clan stronghold, Kharak might have once again descended into partisan struggles over possession of the artifact, and who would be the first to exploit its secrets. Instead, she realized what she had found was far more important than loyalties to family or clan. It was a startled gathering of high ministers that found their debate disrupted by a sand-covered young woman carrying an ancient stone. By nightfall of the following day, some of the greatest minds in the Diamond had examined the Guidestone and confirmed not only its validity, but also its implications. With this knowledge in hand, the high ministers returned to their clans to bring the word that we are not indigenous to this planet. From the most powerful cross-territorial and industrial clans to the smallest agricultural villages, the decision was unanimous. The entire industrial and scientific might of all Kharak will be put to the task of following the path laid by the Guidestone. For the first time since we came to this world, we were one clan. For the past 250 years, there have been no significant conflicts or bloodshed. We have dedicated our entire industrial and scientific resources toward a single common goal, returning to Higara, our homeworld. Thank you for joining me today as I start reading this. If you guys would like to see more, let me know. I love Homeworld as a game. I always have, since I first played it. It's been a long time since I looked through this book, and I forgot how cool it was. So, thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me next time. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, and good night.